Let's get educated. That's why we're here, to bring you the stories impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses. It's time for a little education.
Hello, everyone. I am Katie Petrick, joined by Dr. Jake Jacobs, and it's Monday, Jake. What does that mean?
Hey, we're live.
Live.
No jive.
All right. Hand jive. You remember the hand jive?
What? Hand jive.
There you go. He's got it. All right. Well, that means, again, we are live here on Rumble. So if you are following us at rumble.com/Freedom Project, you can keep up with all of our daily content. And if you're not following us, well, then rumble.com/Freedom Project, follow us. It's brilliant, I tell you.
It is brilliant.
Well, it turns out, by the way, that young kids have opinions on politics, in case you didn't know.
Well,
they do.
That's true. We asked, well, I shouldn't say we asked, CNN's Anderson Cooper's 360.
That's right.
They interviewed for more than 40 hours. They talked politics with 80 elementary schoolers in Arizona. As we know, that's a battleground state. New Jersey, a very blue state. And Texas, a wonderfully red state. Their parents, of course, gave permission for them. And it was very interesting what they had to say. Let's hear what they had to say.
Overall, the biggest finding, the children in the study were polarized, with what researchers call more extreme responses from the blue state kids than the red state kids.
Donald Trump, he did bad things. He's like Hitler.
He only wanted to be president so that he can just control everybody.
The study found that these Democrat-leaning kids were about 9 times more likely to express negative emotions about Donald Trump than Republican-leaning kids were about Kamala Harris. Why might that be? Psychologist Ashley Landrum has some ideas.
So Donald Trump is a very polarizing figure, and it's very possible that the kids are reacting to their parents reacting to Donald Trump being a very different kind of political figure than what we've seen before. So do the red state kids hold as strong of attitudes? Well, not when we're talking about Kamala Harris. In part, that could be because they don't know that much about her.
The study found that Republican-leaning kids were more open to visiting a Democrat-supporting household. The Democrat-leaning kids were about 5 times more likely to say they would not want to go to a pro-Trump house.
Would your family let you go over to somebody's house who's really supportive of Donald Trump?
No.
No, they wouldn't?
No.
And why not?
Because, like, my mom and dad don't like Donald Trump at all. Not a single bit.
Would you be okay going over to somebody's house whose family really likes Kamala Harris?
I think it'd be fine. It's just about the personality of the people.
Whoa!
Yeah. Oh, is right.
Profound. Thank you, Anderson Cooper, for that hard-hitting news piece. When we talk to 10-year-olds who, some of them have more common sense than the 50-year-olds who are on the news networks that you work for, but I digress.
Did you notice how the Republican kids were much more tolerant?
Yes, maybe, just maybe, it's because their parents don't sit them down and indoctrinate them that you must hate Donald Trump at all costs. Because they don't talk about that. Similarly, as it said, they don't talk about maybe Kamala Harris and how awful she is. They could have their own kids going around saying bad things about Kamala Harris. Trust me, she's got a lot of things that are bad. But it's on the left where apparently that's all they talk about if they even sit down at the dinner table together.
It's amazing to me that you get a 10-year-old who says that Donald Trump is pure evil on the level of Adolf Hitler. You're wondering where they're getting it. They're probably not only getting it from their parents, they're probably getting it from their teachers too.
It's every which way that they are getting it. It's from the TikToks that I'm going to go ahead and say these kids are probably watching as well. The same kids who hate Donald Trump because of, we don't know, they're learning it from the TikTok cell phone that they're probably a part of as well.
Well, and plus, remember, their parents have been told, the media has been telling us that we're heading towards the end of democracy as we understand it. You know, I mean, there's signs in my neighborhood. There are a few that say democracy or dictator, you know. It's this kind of hateful languages. But Trump lost in 2020. and he stepped down. It was a peaceful transition of power, but we're told it's the end of democracy. And
No, Jake. It was not peaceful. It was not peaceful because he denied it. He denied that it was a
just like Hillary did in 2016.
He denied it. And so it's awful, and it's awful. And you can you know what's about to happen in less than a month. If Kamala Harris wins, there will be rioting for victory in the streets on the left. If Kamala Harris loses, there will be rioting in the streets on the left because Donald Trump won. If Donald Trump loses, the right, they're going to go back to work on Wednesday. That's what's going to happen. Everyone is going to go back to work, and will a lot of people be upset? Yes, but there won't be rioting by the same people. There's going to be rioting no matter what, win or lose, on the left. On the right, we continue life, because we are much more civilized in this essence than everyone else.
Now, let me ask you something. When you were 10,
yes, 10.
Okay, so did you discuss politics back in those days?
Every night at the dinner table. No, you don't do that. How was your day? What did you learn at school? It's not sitting there talking politics all the time.
Okay.
I knew who the president was. I knew some things, but you didn't hear about this all the time as a child.
Well, it was a little different in my family because my mother and father, I woke up, they were reading the newspaper, cup of coffee, came home from school, read the newspaper, the evening paper, the news was on all the time. So we did have discussions and dialogues. My dad and I had difference of opinion. I was 10, 11 years old discussing this stuff with my dad, but it wasn't like my dad was going around and telling me what to think and how to think. We were debating and discussing various issues at a young age. I mean, that was quite typical in my house. This is the way I think it should be. I mean,
yeah,
I would hope parents aren't just going to kind of,
Oh, no, that's all they do. I mean, think of everything that these kids are getting all the time. Like, I talk to my students about this a lot, and they're upset. YouTube videos, every ad that comes up is a political ad. They're getting nailed with it, and they're all like, we can't even vote. And, kids' content, my kids' content, toddlers' content. My son, who is 4 years old, knows the name of the political candidates because those ads come on there.
Wow.
And then we hit skip because they don't need to watch this nonsense for them. But our kids are just inundated with it. It's all the time. And so for them to be like, oh, I can't go over to someone else's house if they like Trump, it's not coming from the kid. It's coming from the parents, the ads, the politicians, the media, all of it. And then on the other side, we have more civilized people.
Yeah, and this vitriol, though, look at this vitriol from the left. It's look, we can talk about being aware of the horrible policies of Joe Biden and the very deleterious nature of leftism in the country, how it's destroying our republic. But this vitriol by the parents to get this down to the children where they're calling them pure evil and Adolf Hitler, it's just not right for parents to be doing that as far as I'm concerned.
Correct. All right, well, we're going to move on because I'm over here being just slightly shocked at what the brethren over at Notre Dame, what the people there are doing. So the once Catholic University, as we call it around here, once Catholic University, may have some students who have some semblance of understanding, as it appears that the preferred candidate for president is Donald Trump, not Kamala Harris. But I say to you, not by much. That's why I'm slightly shocked. This is a poll that was conducted by the Irish Rover in the middle of September, and it found that 47.6 students, and that equates to 336 students they talked to, said that they wanted Donald Trump, while 324 students, or 45.9%, wanted Kamala Harris. Now, 39 students were saying, I want anyone but them. 4 whole students said Jill Stein. It's probably somehow related to Jill Stein that they're like, hey, that's Jill Stein. And then whoever Chase Oliver is, the Libertarian candidate. All 2 people say they would prefer that vote. So, I mean, is it a big sample size? No, not really. But it is interesting because we've heard how many stories come out of Notre Dame in the past several years. None of them are particularly good that would represent any sort of Catholic values. And so you could assume that, of course, they're going to want Kamala Harris. Every college campus wants Kamala Harris, but au contraire.
Maybe it's the nature of Indiana politics. I mean, Indiana still is quite conservative. It's probably more than likely going to go for President Trump. And maybe there's a number of these Zoomer age kids that are coming to the realization of how absolutely bizarre the woke world of the Democratic Party is. And granted, it's a small margin you're pointing out, but to me that's significant. If this is any reflection of what's happening across the country, this bodes quite well for President Trump.
Well, and it might be that, these kids are starting to wake up and look at what issues are happening. What is it? What do they care about?
Yes.
And when you look at the top issue being the economy and inflation, yeah, you're going to look to, okay, just as Donald Trump has been doing for the past, couple years now, pointing out, were you better under me as president? Was the economy better under me, or is the economy better now? How much money do you have in your wallet, and how far can that dollar go?
And will I be able to afford a home when I get out of college?
So it makes sense that 27.9% of the students say the economy is the number one issue. But the interesting thing is that second top issue is abortion.
I was going to say, here's a Catholic institution that
Yes.
theoretically is passionately pro-life, but we have found, sadly, many Catholic institutions no longer uphold Catholic orthodoxy.
Correct. And that's why you can see when you look at, let's take a cross-section of who's voting for who. The men, overwhelmingly, 57% of men say Trump versus only 35% for Harris. While the women, it's complete reverse, where it's 57% are saying Harris and only 38% are saying Trump. This is how Donald Trump lost last time. This is how he lost, is because he lost the suburban white woman, all the moms, because he's a mean guy. And so girl power, we want a female in there. Ladies, on behalf of ladies, Kamala Harris is not your lady. She's not a lady at all. Do you want her to be the first female president? Do you really? Do you?
There's a lot of great women in this country that I could see as president of the United States, but not Kamala Harris. And by the way, the whole abortion issue, the Democratic Party has unbelievably lied about President Trump's views on abortion. It's just absolutely disgusting. But they know it's working.
Well, I mean, when you have the media as your mouthpiece, then
Yep.
they can put out whatever they want. They can cook up any which way story and it works. But hey, there are other issues that these kids seem to care about. By kids, I guess they are adults, technically. Democracy came in with 97 votes, and that's 13.8%. So when you have economy number one, it has to be a big margin, because otherwise you go to abortion and democracy being the next.
But it doesn't make
issues.
sense. Once again, that's a Democratic Party saying that Trump is going to be the end of democracy. And I bet you these kids don't even realize that this is a republic, Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution.
Thank you. They have no clue. And that's why. And so when you look down at the very bottom issues, when you talk about race relations, crime, healthcare, education, LGBT issues, then gun policy, climate change, and work your way back up, it makes sense how you could just have Trump edge out. When you get your number one issue being the economy, you're going to edge out all the other silly issues, which are the bottom issues of race.
Yeah, the way they're placed is absolutely bizarre to
LGBT
me.
issues.
Yeah.
But anyone who says the number one issue is the LGBT issues or climate change being the top issue, do they have any understanding of what's happening? Nope, they don't. They don't care. And the other issue to bring up is, again, once Catholic University, when they actually polled Catholics, 56% say Trump and 36% say Harris. These are the same ones who think abortion's the number one issue, and they're voting for Harris no matter what. These are going to be the college girls who want my body, my choice. That's been drilled into them. That's what, my body, my choice. Over and over and over.
And over again.
All right. Well, we have more to say on Educated, so stick with us.
Today's show is sponsored by our friends at MyPillow. Save up to 66% on pristine quality bedding, towels, slippers, signature pillows, and much more when you use the code EDUCATED. That's EDUCATED. Educated. Support this show and a great American company.
here we are again, crashing and burning because we don't like nice things, including what Dr. Jake over there is wearing.
Be true to your school, to quote the Beach Boys.
Oh, my.
That's my alma mater, not my alma fata.
At Arizona State University, a professor is not happy after his Introduction to Christianity course, which has been taught off and on for more than 2 decades, was canceled. Let's take a look at what happened with Dr. Owen Anderson and his course.
It's really going down at ASU. The Religious Studies Department is trying to block me from teaching Introduction to Christianity, a class I've taught many times over the last 24 years. They want me to teach it their way or not at all. And their way means, among other things, I have to deny that there's a biblical worldview. I have to deny there's something even called Christianity. There's only Christianities. And I have to teach that Christianity is a colonizing religion. And if I don't do those, they'll try to stop me. Now, they're free to teach the class the way they think is best, but I also have academic freedom to teach it the way I've been teaching it. I happen to have a graduate degree in religious studies from that department, so I'm very familiar with how they teach it. But they don't want those things taught. They want their philosophy of Christianity taught, and only that view. So this is an academic liberty issue.
Oh, yes, it be. Now, his general education designation was revoked because of objections that some peers had over how he taught the topic. So it's not the kids are complaining, it's the other professors, such as Julia Surreal. She is surreal, who's an associate professor in the School of Humanities, Arts, and Cultural Studies. And she says the syllabus reflects a Christian way of teaching Christianity. Just pause on that for a moment.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Which is to say the course does not adequately provide the kinds of critical, reflective, disciplinary skills that students need to have in order to study religious traditions.
That's absolute hogwash. That's absolute insanity. That woman probably hates Christianity, the Judeo-Christian worldview, and God forbid that this professor actually teach Christianity from a historical, theological, exegetical perspective and actually teach the kids about Christianity as it was and as it is.
Yeah, so for her to say that he teaches a course on Christianity from as a Christian, it's almost like, I don't know, he'd have experience and understanding and be able to teach the children, but we can't have that at the university level. We can't actually have teachers teaching and also saying, hey, we reserve the right. You have every right to disagree with everything that I say up here. He could, in a normal world, be able to stand up there and say, hi, my name's Dr. Owen Anderson. I am a Christian. I am teaching this course on Christianity. Here is what it is. You have every right to disagree with me or the Christian principles, but I have expertise in it.
And by the way, that is his style. I mean, I'm in Arizona on the campus all the time. I'll be down there again.
I bet you are with your hat and your mug.
Well, I am. And when he has a wonderful reputation with the students. I'm not saying all the students, but a significant number of students love him because he has a wonderful way of teaching Christianity, and he's not a browbeater. He's not an indoctrinator type of guy. He just has a passion for his subject, and the kids know that. Same thing happened to me in my undergraduate days when I was kind of wild and crazy guy, and there was an Orthodox Jewish professor in the history department who used C.S. Lewis's works, believe it or not, who used Leo Strauss and many other great thinkers who revolutionized my understanding of American history and helped shape my worldview in a very positive way. This guy, unfortunately, these woke professors, they want him gone because, God forbid, he actually teach the truth.
All right. Well, there's different things that this course actually has for learning objectives. And, he simply wants you to understand the historical development of Christianity. Oh, no, he's a Christian, though. He can't talk about the history of it. Jeez. You would analyze core Christian doctrines. Oh, no, you can't examine and interpret the central doctrines of Christianity because, hey, you're a Christian, mister.
And somebody might believe it, God forbid.
You will evaluate the impact of Christianity on Western civilization. What? There was an impact of Christianity on Western civilization? No, we can't have kids actually know about again, going back, historical development of Christianity and how it impacted Western civilization. Because guess what? We wouldn't be here in the same capacity if we didn't have Christianity affect Western civilization. Number 4, you would compare Christian beliefs with other religious traditions. no, we can't have a Christian talk about that stuff because then he'll probably just say they have to be Christian and all the rest are bad. Well, it says right there that he will identify similarities and differences. That means the students would have to be responsible for comparing and contrasting those things,
and actually
right?
critically think.
Stop it. We can't have that. And finally, you would, if we were allowing this course and allowing him to teach it, you would apply ethical teachings of Christianity to contemporary issues. Now that's it. Oh, you have them applying actual Christianity things to what's happening now, and basically it's just going to be Tower of Babel stuff going on out
Katie,
there.
you and I both know that if you go back into Herbert Marcuse, the Frankfurt Marxists in the 60s and 70s, and he called it repressive tolerance, that we will tolerate all our leftist atheistic ideas, but we will not tolerate the Judeo-Christian worldview. And this is what this is all about. This is censorship by the wokeocrats that dominate American college campuses. They don't want the truth to be understood, to be known, and to be taught to students today.
That is correct. Now, Anderson said he had planned to offer his course next spring, and now he is the plaintiff in a lawsuit that's filed against ASU, alleging that he actually had these mandatory DEI trainings violating state law. So he's got some lawsuits going against his place of employment. So he's definitely a target at the university. But what's interesting, I like what he said, that he says, how many times do I lose my academic freedom? This is only directed one way, toward Christians and Christianity. He said, students are in the same situation, and I want them to know it's okay to say something. You don't have to be steamrolled. So, a professor at your alma mater is telling the students to stand up, and we're not going to take it
Anymore.
All right, well, we've got our Babylon Bee headlines to discuss, and we need you to pick a winner, so stay with us.
In 2024, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. Introducing Patriot Mobile, the wireless carrier that stands with you. We are committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream.
Get free activation now with promo code EDUCATED.
All right, before we wrap things up, let's take a look at everyone's favorite satire site, the Babylon Bee.
Here are this week's top 5 Babylon Bee headlines.
Well, we've picked our favorite headlines, and now we ask you to help us decide which one should be named Queen of the Hive. We start with number 1. FEMA reports they spent all the taxpayer funding on a sweet PowerPoint presentation about racial equity. Number 2, North Carolina asks Zelensky for $100 billion in U.S. funding. Number 3, Kamala campaign quietly cancels release of new Doug wife beater. Number 4, Walz clarifies that he meant the Tiananmen Square Chinese buffet in Omaha, Nebraska. And finally, number 5, doctors will no longer ask who is the president to test for concussions since honestly nobody is really sure right now. All right, for all of our friends watching, which one did you like best? Katie, let's start with you.
There's some long ones today. I don't know, Babylon Bee, being a little wordy. But I'm going to go with number 5. Doctors are no longer going to ask, who's the president? Because, like, it's true. No one knows who it is. Day to day, I think people are, placing their bets in Vegas. Is it a little bit more Jill Biden today? Does this sound more like Barack Obama today? Is the Harris campaign doing it? We don't know. Is there really Clintons in this one? I think. What does this seem more like?
Like Gump says, maybe it's both. I think it's a little bit of all what you just said.
Maybe it's a little of the oligarchy up in there. Yep. Maybe, hey, it's probably Zelensky. We don't know.
Speaking of Zelensky, that's the one I'm going with.
Really?
Number 2, North Carolina asked Zelensky for $100 billion in U.S. funding. I mean, when you think of it, was it Mayorkas who said that FEMA's run out of funds?
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken.
I think it was.
I mean, you stop and think of it. Donald Trump gets attacked for saying "Make America Great Again," and you could have it Kamala Nala. Kamala's mantra could be Nala or Mala, "Make America Last Again." I mean, it's like this is just unbelievable. Whatever happened to caring for the American people? So and there's a lot. I mean, think of this money, the billions of dollars going to Zelensky in Ukraine. In the meantime, people are suffering and starving and hurting in the great country of America.
Well, it looks like Mark and Ellie Klotz also say number 2 on Rumble. And then Flipper says, Flipper, Yolanda, says number 3 and number 5. Now, number 3, the Kamala campaign quietly cancels the release of the new Doug White beater. That's just a distraction story. Everything that comes out about any of the spouses all just...
Yeah, no big deal. Yeah.
Or, quite frankly, the VP candidates, too. Like, they're all just distraction stories. But number 1, actually, was what I was going to go with, potentially, because of how insane it is that FEMA has no money for, like you were saying, our own American citizens. But we report on this daily, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars are spent on making the most dumb things like a PowerPoint that, I know it's silly, but they are wasting taxpayer dollars on things that have nothing to do with helping American people and everything to do with helping their own little narrative
or
pet
illegal
projects.
Even illegal aliens, because that FEMA money was going to
a
illegal
lot of the
aliens.
FEMA money was going to that.
Hotels and schooling, et cetera, et cetera. Well, guys, that's going to wrap up our top headlines of the week. More satire next time.
And if you do enjoy our content, please follow us on rumble.com/Freedom Project. Now, for Jake and myself, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And thank you for supporting what we do. Until next time, stay educated.